Yes, I'll make that announcement.
Yeah. Are you gonna come to the University of Missouri? No.
No, they were ready.
Yes, you are.
We did, go, we did.
Go.
Okay. We'll go ahead and start.
And then about so many things that.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is good to see everybody. Hey. Hey. And hey to everybody online. Thank you. Y'all know we took August off, as we usually do, and now we're back. And this is our community meeting. We're to give some updates. We have done some really cool and interesting and fun education thing this summer. We have our own Jasper St. Bernard's going to talk on that. Our own Mary McIntosh developed a curriculum that we gave to some visiting students over the course of how many weeks, guys? Was it 4 or 6 weeks? We gave 6 weeks, and one was canceled. So, like 6 weeks throughout the summer, we had 6 different groups that we gave talks to about the work of the Insights Project. So we're going to be talking about that in a little bit as well. But first things first, our call to come. I'm sure, like everyone else, it's been a day of activities or not. But we want to just calm ourselves, center ourselves, and prepare for the messages that we received today. Today is a heavy day for a lot of people. It is September 11th, 2023. 22 years since that happened. I was reflective of it throughout the weekend. And I learned something this morning that I didn't know. There's another country that mourned September 11th because of something that the United States did down in, I want to say, South America, Chile. Or it might be Venezuela. I know Chile was Augusto Pinochet, but there was a coup that was U.S. backed that happened on September 11th, and that country also mourned this thing. It's an interesting thing. I'm still working through chickens coming home to roost and things of that nature. But at any rate, whatever's on your mind, let's center ourselves 3 minutes, and I will start the time. Good evening again. Welcome to our September community meeting. I want to say a couple of things first. I want to say welcome back, Aviva. I'm happy. We are happy that you are back. And we know that you suffered a loss. And we're sorry for your loss. And just hey, welcome back. Jessica also suffered a loss recently, and good to see her back.
I have two grandmothers. But it was a wonderful, long, beautiful life. It's easier.
And Reverend Noah, some of you may know, who's usually here to greet us at Barth House. He has been absent on medical leave, so just send prayers and good thoughts for him. He should be back later on this month. So just keep him in your thoughts. Let's see. Today, is there anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, September. I was wondering if that should be like an open floor discussion. I didn't really intend it to be like a discussion, but we can talk about it after Jasper and we talk about the educational things, and if people want to talk about it, if that feels okay with folks. Okay. I think. Oh, well, t-shirts. We ordered t-shirts about a month or so ago, right? Less than a month. Jasper, you can stand in front of the camera here, Jasper.
Oh, yeah, if you could stand in front there. I don't know if you could center the
Okay. Like that.
Yeah.
It is black, but it's
white and black.
It's a white one, and the colors are the lettering is in red on the white one as well. Is there a gray one?
Just white and black.
Just white and black. Okay.
Yeah.
And
No, I had that. It was too much responsibility. I had it.
I have it.
Just better suited for that.
so if you have cash,
Cash only, it's try to put on our website.
so if you're here live and in person, you have cash.
Jessica can have it for you.
Has it for you.
But we are.
No.
We are going to make it possible to buy online
Yes,
soon.
we just have to work the payment.
Yes, you have to work through that.
But as
And-
far as in person,
And the charge will be.
well, it was $10 off, so I would think for our members have it in, I don't know, should we do cost or should we? And then
Well,
have
we are
the-
a nonprofit and we like to raise money.
Well, I'm gonna do that for you as the treasurer, but I can,
So there'll be
think
$20.
I think we should decide together on the cost. Because,
So for those online, we will post when it's ready, the cost and how to get it soon.
and for the here, I've got them in my car, so I'll bring them in.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Go ahead, Jess.
This is mysterious on purpose. The quick we sell, we have a really good idea for another run. So please sell. And we'll go with
When
that.
I unload these, it's gotta be,
Yeah.
Jasper has a great
And you'll
idea.
like those second ones. And you'll like these, but the second ones are
You'll love those.
yeah, you'll love this thing.
Okay.
Because when I first saw it, sure, Washington Park. I remind me of the trip that we had, of course, okay, right, and then back, where the west back. And when I was at, 2018, I was at each eye, legacy, stuff like that, right? One of the ladies was trying to do this, she said, you must be amazing. But the checkers and the checks were that really should all be on sure. He said, if you're not like that, no, don't give it away. Okay. Randy, okay. Don't give it away. Okay. You want to get these first ones offloaded. Okay. But as you can see, Randy's excited.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But don't tell us the secret.
And how many did we order this first batch? 50?
Yeah, no, that's higher than I'm glad.
So this is for a limited time only.
They are.
Limited time only. Okay.
Yeah, right. Because we want to see. So there's 50 of these.
Can I make an observation
Yeah,
on
yeah.
y'all's behalf that I brought?
Mm-hmm.
go to North Carolina with an LSP hat on and just go through any gasoline station, and the guy looks at me and he goes, you say, Memphis Youth Project, and people go, oh. I said, we heard tales. I'm serious, where you're talking about North Carolina, more than North Carolina was. They gotta ask. So private teacher and then where you're from. Yes. You're gonna get amazing conversations.
I'll take a blank Excel. I call it Louisiana State Patrol.
Okay. I do have another announcement. So Will Schwartz has invited me to attend their Maryland Lynching Memorial Project annual conference in October, Saturday, October 14th at Goucher College, Goucher College, that's north of Baltimore. They're going to feature the work of a few Maryland coalitions, as well as the truth and reconciliation efforts of a few groups outside of Maryland, namely us, and pretty much like Indianapolis, 10 to 15 minute presentation and some time for the audience Q&A. So I did tell them that definitely would love to participate. So waiting to hear back from him on the logistics and things like that. So
Am I right?
I have no idea. No idea.
Pardon?
I thought Gallaudet was deaf. Yeah, for deaf. Yeah. I don't know about sight.
When is it?
October 14th, that's a Saturday. Alrighty. Okay. Jasper. So besides t-shirts, you gave one or two tours this summer, and I was hoping you could tell us about it. And I'm going to pass this over because this is acting as a microphone for those online.
A camera tour, I can just hold it like this. Okay. Okay, no. No. I thought it would be like. I had the privilege of touring two groups this summer, and they were two very different groups, which was really helpful. So the first group was the Zocalo group. They're a group out of California. They had a conference at the National Civil Rights Museum. And the conference was about how do we, I should have carried the title with me, but it was something to the effect of how we deal with community sins, national sins. It was really well done. And they actually came out here to meet different groups in order to build a foundation a month before the talk or the conference. And so Laura Cabetti told, did I pronounce that right? Cabetta. She mentioned the lynching sites project. So we met. They really wanted us to just commit to joining them. But during the meeting, I suggested, hey, why don't you're out here about national sins and memory, collective memory. Why don't you let us give you a tour of a lynching site, and kind of give you an idea of what LSP does. They were very excited about it. And so I think that the day before the community meeting that they had, they met us at the lynching site where Thomas Moss, Cal McDowell, and Will Stewart were murdered. And what we did there is we just we walked them through the history of that particular lynching. We talked about.
And I'm gonna pause.
Yeah.
So tell us when you guys visited there, and I think Randy, you were there too. You guys started in Washington Park.
Yes, sorry. So we started in Washington Park because that was parking. And then we walked to the lynching site.
Right, and originally, for those who don't know, those online, Washington Park was where we originally had planned and agreed with the city to place the marker, because the city owned property that was closest
Yeah.
to the actual site itself. Since then, in the interim, what it was like, what, 2, 3 years at the time, that had elapsed because of like COVID and whatnot, the city had purchased a strip of land going from Washington Park, a little trail, to where we believe the actual site is.
Yeah.
Before then, it was just an overgrown tree, with trees and whatnot. But the city has purchased that, so now that is city-owned land.
Yeah. And and there's like a park there, and it's it was accommodating to a conversation. As you all know, it's been really hot here in Memphis this summer. So what we did is we talked them through the story. This is what happened, the People's Grocery, just different things. We talked about Ivy Wells and some stuff like that. Then we walked back to Washington Park, where there was a pavilion and shade, and then we did a debriefing together there for about another half hour. It was very powerful. The conversation, the questions that they asked, the concerns that they raised, particularly because of what the work this group is doing. It was a very a mutually beneficial conversation. Yeah, it pressed both ways, and it was really good. And yeah, so then they reached back out to us after and said how impactful it was, particularly like heading into this program, and that they were really appreciative that we took them and explained this to them. I guess I could tell the other group, then I'll tell you some things that I noticed. So then the other group was from Missouri State? Yeah, the University of Missouri, Columbia, thank you. And the professor there is in, because there were two people, I think he was an sociology, thank you. He's a sociology professor. A lot of the students that they brought were journalism students, interestingly enough.
And I graduated from that school.
Oh, wow, okay. So
That's a very good journalism school.
And so what we did, we expanded it a little bit. They had a little more time. So I should have said, this little group only had an hour. They were prepping for things. So they had 1 hour blocked off. And they did not have transportation. They actually had to Uber to there. So we had to limit it to one site because to travel would have been expensive and difficult. But with this group, they had a chartered van. And so what we did is we started at the Ida B. Wells Memorial statue, the park. Because the professor, he wanted to see it. We kind of talked, did introductions there, and then we drove to the Lee Walker site, showed them the Lee Walker site and the jail. And then in order to make the narrative work, then we took them back a year and explained that this is also the jail that Moss, McDowell, and Stewart were captured from. And then we did the same thing. So then we went to the Lee Walker, we talked to that, we talked to the about the jail. Then we went to Washington Park, walked to the Moss, McDowell, and Stewart site. And then we found some shade and sat there, literally right there, and then talked through what they had experienced together, and then parted ways. What was really well, here, I'll pause. Any questions or thoughts before I do mine? This is what I realized on the thing, on the Zoom.
Well, I did want to go back to the Zocalo group, because you mentioned that they were preparing for an event that evening.
Yeah.
National Civil Rights Museum, which me, you, and Randy.
Yes.
Can you just give some brief thoughts on that?
About the meeting, the conference,
right.
Or the symposium, I guess it was more of a symposium.
Yeah.
The symposium was really interesting. So they were talking about the relationship between remembering and restoring, and how those are often confused for the same thing. To remember is not necessarily to restore or to repair. And so Dr. Andre Johnson was one of the panelists. I don't remember the names of everybody.
was the one that did reparation.
Robin, she works literally on local reparations in her area.
In Naperville, Illinois.
Oh, not Naperville.
In
In
Illinois.
Illinois.
Yeah, right. An incredible like testimony and possibility, I would say. Because sometimes the reparation conversation can get a little, at least for me, I won't speak for anybody else in this room, it can get a little like mentally exhausting. Because we talk about talking about repairing. And so to meet someone who's actually in the work of repairing,
She's a representative in Evanston, Illinois, which is where Northwestern is, and they passed a law, I think it was last year, or city ordinance, to give funding for African Americans to buy homes in Evanston.
yeah,
As a way of, for reparations,
Yeah.
because of the redlining and all of that happened.
yeah. And her presence there was a real important check against just theorizing
Mhm.
for a couple hours and then walking away, as if theory is the same as praxis. They're not the same. And so theory is important. I'm a philosopher, but it's not praxis. And so like, so then they had a Q&A after, and I want to apologize to LSP. I want to tell you, this was heavy on my mind. When I introduced myself, because I get asked the question, and I didn't want to say, I'm Jasper Saber with LSP, because I didn't want y'all roped into the question that I asked. But from now on, I didn't want you to be like, wow, he worked with us, he didn't even mention it. It's because I didn't want to get to the end of the question and everybody in LSP is like this, like nothing goes into it. Like they're like, oh, LSP, right? I didn't want to do that. But it was really, the question and answer was really good. It was really, it was a overall good program. Then they had a reception after, and we were able to talk, and it was a powerful time. DK, is your, okay.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention about the group at the supervisory exam is I got a chance to talk with Robin. I introduced her to
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I got a chance to talk to Robin. She wanted to make it to that tour.
And Robin was,
Robin was the one from Evanston, Illinois, from doing, reparation or whatever it is, right? I introduced her to Rich or whatever it is, right? But Leela from can't never say the words, Zocalo, or whatever it is, right?
yeah.
She introduced her also, and the executive director, or whatever it is, right? And they talked about grants from the Mellow Foundation, or whatever it is, right? About applying for grants from the Mellow Foundation, or it is, right? Because Lita talked to me about it at the Washington Park about that. Why don't you guys apply for a grant, from the Mellow Foundation, or whatever it is, right? But one of the things Robin said to me, whatever it is, after they did the talk, or it is, right? She said she tried to make it to the tour that she was given, or whatever it is, right? Because she wanted to make it, but things happened, or whatever it is, right? But she was interested in LSP around lynching.
DK, did you have a question?
DK was there. Did you have a question? Because DK, you were there.
No, I got you. Okay. Yeah. And so, so what I gathered from these two tours, and they were different. One was a college group, so that was, I should tell you too about the group that came from the University of Missouri. So they had done this 3 years ago, she said. So right before COVID, they took a tour.
With us?
No, and this is why, this is like, she came up to me and she was just saying, the last time I was here, she was she was a former student, and she had come with the group, because she had come 3 years before. And she said how miserable it was the first time, because she had to carry a lot of the weight as being one of the few Black students. A lot of it was she's from Missouri, but it was like, well, you're Black, you know about all, it was just, and she was just saying the difference with like a guided tour with someone like LSP, and how beneficial it was, like educationally, to have a group with this kind of background to guide a group through something like this, as opposed to a group coming and then trying to work it out on their own and going to the sites on their own. There's an expertise, and I mean, even as I was prepping, I read some of our dear Margaret's books. Say the title so I can drop it, please. Lethal Punishment. I read Lethal Punishment in preparation. There's just a wealth of knowledge, both academic and layperson, that LSP has, that it was like a felt it was noticed by the groups that were told, that were allowed to give, that were granted these tours. They were so appreciative of us taking the time out and doing this for them, which made me think this is something that LSP should probably look toward doing on a regular basis. Yeah.
The part about you embarrassing us, I don't think that's possible, because if we don't hear your truth, how can we start with having courageous conversations?
Okay,
Okay.
I hear that, Habiba. I hear that. I'll tell you 2 stories when the meeting's over. That'll take anyway. Yeah, no, but I appreciate that. Yeah, but it was just, and so the way it impacted me, and then I'll pass it on. It, like, you know, my grad work is on this. I work on Ida B. Wells. My dissertation is on lynching and the horrific nature of its effects. And you can spend so much time in it that you start to take it for granted almost in a weird way. Like it remains horrific, but it sort of becomes, at least for me, like I'm tempted to think, oh, everyone knows this, because you sit right all the time. So it's like this information. And what I realized in these 2 tours is like this, even though lynching was pervasive and both time and space wise, it somehow has seeped into the background of American knowledge. And a lot of people just don't know this stuff. They don't know about the people's culture. They don't know about the mechanisms or the functions of lynching. You know, for a lot of people, the horrific nature of it stops at enslavement, maybe into Jim Crow, but there's this whole era of problems that a lot of groups just don't know about, and that we are sitting on just a wealth of knowledge that people could benefit from far and wide. I think locally too, but then as groups come into town, they can really benefit from tours like these.
I just want to say, when this group was formed, we had a discussion, and the question was, lynchings occur every 20 years. And there's also educational lynchings where the old people teach the young people. And lynching in good order was what I had heard. And if you're going to have a lynching, it needs to be done this way. And some of these old guys were teachers, and they taught lynching to younger generations. And you will see in history, every 20 years or so, there's a spontaneous lynching. And that was research that I did 12 years ago, or whenever this group found. And I learned that in Northern Ireland. They did the same thing in Northern Ireland.
I'll talk about it. I was I shocked you, I'm sorry. I kind of was along for the ride with Jasper and Randy, and it, like, to piggyback on everything you said though, it was so powerful to watch the interactions with the kids, and Jasper was amazing at asking them questions that made them think. And, you know, the whole time I'm just thinking, what a wealth of knowledge this collective group has that we should share with, you know, and after it, Jasper and I were just saying, not even, like you said, it doesn't have to be we can do this in Memphis, and it doesn't have to be, it could be youth groups, all kinds of student groups. But we kind of thought, you know, he had the same kind of, a little bit of the same route as Zocalo, but we could come up with maybe some kind of set like a set program that we could do, and we could really take this places. It's just, you know, just tapping into the wealth of knowledge that we have is really powerful. It was amazing to watch, because I didn't really speak at all. I just sat and watched Randy and Jasper, and just kind of from the outsider's perspective, watching the students and how engaged they were, and how, you know, they were just soaking it all in, and it was really powerful to see. So I think we need to carry this on. It was good to see. It's exciting to see.
If you notice, both times, what did I have in my hand? I had history. Every time I go out somewhere, right, or whatever it is, right, I always carry some history. I had the history of the People's Grocery. Remember I had the picture, where it is, right, which is the painting or where it is, right? And then I have the history of Lee Walker. So anytime I go somewhere to support, somebody, where it is, I always take some history with me. Because some people took some pictures of it and stuff like that.
And two last things, I'm sorry. So, one, I just think LSP's position in a moment where like a state like Tennessee is trying to figure out exactly how they want to communicate their own history as a sort of subversive educational program, this would be a powerful thing for LSP to think about doing. Because college groups, youth groups, these individuals who are not provided these opportunities to know a part of this history is important. And the other thing I noticed is that you don't have to make it like extensive. There, as we know, there are a lot of different sites in Memphis, but just that short route from the Memorial Park to Washington Park, the way we took, you get a lot. You can tell them the difference between a spectacle lynching and one that happens at night, like in the cover of dark. You can explain how all lynchings weren't by hanging, and that like what that sort of societal definition of lynching is sort of limiting. You could talk about the economic pushback that lynchings were. Like there's a lot that can go into the informing of a group in just that short route. So you don't have to go all around the city, is what I'm saying, right? Like you go from the park to Lee Walker to Washington Park to that site, and you can cover a whole lot of information, and you don't need all day. So these are, what I'm saying is that it's possible, it's definitely doable. We saw that this summer, and I think it's something that, yeah, we should think about as a group.
Where are the schools located? Where were they located?
So this was Missouri, the one school, and this is more, the Zocalo group, is they're like a collective. They do a multimedia, they have these symposiums, they have a newsletter, so they do different things. It wasn't a school.
And they're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and they're in Los Angeles.
Cause I'm thinking, cause Jessica said for us to do it like in Memphis. And I'm a northern person. I think southern people have blinders on it when it's regard to the lynching, and they don't wanna own up to their part in it, so they don't wanna, like bring it to the forefront. That's just my judgment, so that's why I haven't gone any further.
And
But
there's
they could.
definitely that, and even with some black people,
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't even wanna,
Exactly.
why y'all talking about this?
Exactly.
But it's definitely something we should do.
Yeah.
I think there's different reasons. Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on that, and let me tell you why. This is a book called Bill Street Unforgotten. When we was at IDB Wells, Plaza, whoever it is, right? Because I go to church, a block south of that, whoever it is. I kept thinking about all that knowledge on Bill Street, Church Park. 1917, when, after El Person, right? The head, when El Person, got lynched, they chopped off his head and threw it on Bill Street. Where the W.C. Handy Museum is, I talked to Elaine Turner, that was actually Avery Chapel. That's where the funeral took place at. There's so much history. W.C. Handy, right, where the park was, right, in his book, he left Memphis because of a lynching, or whatever it is, right? So there's so much history. I mean, the free speech and headlines and stuff like that. I kept thinking about that, exactly what you just talked about. How much history, and I talked with a lady when we were down there before, we met the students or whatever it is, right? And she was just starting to do tours. She just got hired for too much, she goes to my church. She just got hired, and I said, there is so much history on Bill Street, or whatever it is, right, that needs to be included.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Jasper. Thank you, Randy. And you, Jessica, you were there as well. Thank you for sharing those thoughts. Also this summer, and Iris and Mary was supposed to do this. Mary McIntosh, our own board member, she is a teacher, and she developed it's not curriculum's not the right word. It was a class presentation. Yeah, class presentation to give this, well, this curriculum is more, like a whole semester, mini curriculum, okay.
A lesson plan?
Lesson plan. Yeah, it was a lesson plan. That's what she titled it, a lesson plan that we gave with youth ministries of Memphis Youth Mission. They brought in youngsters from what, middle school-ish to high school-ish, from around the country. The group I spoke with, they were from North Carolina. And they come to Memphis for like a week and do social service projects and of course learn more about Memphis. And so over lunch during like a Tuesday or Wednesday, for like an hour's change, Mary developed PowerPoint presentation, a lesson plan to talk about the work of the Lynching Sites Project. And it covered, Ida B. Wells and how we remember these sins, similar to what Zocalo was doing during the talk. And we do have the presentation. We did not set up to show. I think almost everyone in here. Have you seen the presentation, DK? Margaret? Tom has it. Okay. You were, you have, and of course you. Let's see if we can cue that up real quick. But I I spoke, my youngsters, there were like what, 24? They're like 24. I don't know how big you guys are. Yeah, it was about 24 young people, middle school to like high school. And almost all white. There were like maybe 3 students of color that was in my group, and their chaperones. And I showed them the presentation. Let me start this. Well, you talk about when I'm giving it to Randy. You talk about when, I don't know, who did you give it with? Carl?
No, I gave one, with people from First Presbyterian Church, and they came from, I think, Raleigh, North Carolina. Because I supported Carla when she did hers.
Screen shared, so.
Yeah.
Does anybody online have some thoughts they want to share?
Well, we have a webinar.
Yeah.
We have a question we can get to while we're,
Okay.
what is the group in California? The Speaker Memorial? Is that
Zocalo, ZOCALO.
Okay.
And you can tell them they can find that symposium on YouTube. Like they put it up.
The full name is Zocalo Public Square.
Zocalo Public Square.
Zocalo is a word
It's actually a public in Mexico that they're drawing. That is great. Yeah, so like actually that people would gather.
And this is why it is remembering enough to prepare.
Why isn't remembering enough to repair? Was the name of the presentation. Thanks, Randy. And it was William Sturkey, historian and author of Hattiesburg. He was the MC. Memphis is Andre E. Johnson. He's a rhetoric professor here at the University of Memphis. Ken Bloom, artist and curator, who was also from California, if I remember correctly. And Robin Rue Simmons, who was from Evanston in Illinois, reparations leader.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they did record this. It is on their YouTube page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, yeah, we can't get it here in person, but at least those folks online can see the presentation here. Mary McIntosh again created this. How do I get to the next? Oh, there we go. So it briefly through the history of LSP. A lot of people know this photograph of the lynching of Bell Person's dedication back in 2017. You see John and is on there, and a number of other people I can't make out right now. And we asked the question, how do we remember, or should we remember? And we talked about the stumbling blocks that are in Germany that were placed there to remember the victims of the Holocaust. These stones were placed outside the living spaces of people who had been abducted, taken away, and murdered. And of course, what we do here nationally, the markers that we have, but also the National Memorial of Peace and Justice down in Montgomery, aka the Lynching Memorial. Let's keep these questions in mind today. How does the past influence us as individuals and as members of society? Does the past influence us differently depending on our individual identities? Does it matter who tells the story? And in my group, I asked each of these questions to the young people. They gave pretty insightful answers, I thought, for people in middle school. They definitely got that, if you're in a group or in the majority, how you view things is definitely going to be skewed and different than those who are in the other group. Those who may have been overlooked by history. James Baldwin, there was a quote here, again to spark conversation. History is not just something to be read, and it does not refer only to the past. The great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us, are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways. And history is literally present in all that we do. So we talked about different ways or different reasons why people were lynched. I think I added some to this as well, because some of the students didn't know that there were white people who had been lynched. There were Jewish people who had been, Italian people who had been lynched, Asian Americans who had been lynched. A lot of people don't know that. And focused on how it was used as an instrument of enforcing power and oppressing those people who were the targets of these lynchings. It wasn't just a random act of violence. What we do. What is this? Shining the light of truth. So show some pictures of some of the activities that we have done over the years in LSP. And of course, Ida B. Wells talked about her work. And we passed around some artifacts, but it was like whether it was clippings from old news descriptions of lynchings. I think that was it. There's clippings of news of description, but also I think some of the text of some of the markers. I think we passed those around for them to view and gave them a few minutes to kind of look those over and ask them how they felt about those, particularly the news descriptions and how skewed. They picked up right away how skewed they were. You didn't know who wrote them and all of that. And that's deeper stories together. Ended with this quote by Ha Zhen, the past. That is in the same vein of the Baldwin quote. There was a poem. It's not a quote. It was actually a poem that we handed out, or I don't think this is on the. Yeah, it's not on the presentation. We handed out the poem by Ha Zhen. And they read that and shared their thoughts on what it meant. And we publicize our augmented reality. You can see there's the People's Grocery Store icon there. And that was
And that was
So
it.
we
So
would give the presentation
for like 45 minutes
or so.
or so,
And then
and then
but
questions. But I think other people might have done it differently. We,
You know, it was
you
written.
know, it was written in such a way people can cater it to however their style wanted to be.
And going back.
And going back to what Jasper was saying, this is something that we're prepared to do. We're equipped to do. We have a lot of knowledge here. I think this is something that we could definitely do again next year, and not just to Memphis Youth Mission.
But for those
who gave it,
please, what are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts
on
on
the
classes that you attended, Randy? And then Jasper, I know you taught a class.
When I thought about the Memphis Youth Mission, and you had people coming from, different parts of the country, what came to my mind is what do we do locally about youth, about, reaching. I mean, of course, with the critical race theory and all this stuff going on, right? I remember, of course, going back when we started, of course, the schools were overturned in Central and everything else, right? But I don't mind seeing people come from, other places where it is, right? But I am concerned about what we do locally around youth, because of a lot of things that are actually going on. I'm familiar, of course, with Bridges, because we got started by Brian Stevenson, talking with, Fresh History said banquet, right? I talked with some of the employees at Fresh History ourselves about, the effects of critical race theory and how, the middle school and high school and the impact it's going to have. So I am concerned about, what we're doing right in our own backyard, even though we've got people coming from all over places.
Jasper, do you have anything about your experience?
It was just another, I was trying to look up where the group I was talking to came from. Minnesota, I think it was. Right. Because I had looked up, if any had happened, if a lynching had happened in their area. As a sort of, as an introduction. And there had been one. And they were already aware, and it was very well. So I talked to high schoolers, and it struck me how perceptive they are, and how much they already know what's going on. So one of them talked about highway systems and how they curiously run through their city, and I was like, oh, okay, but so there's an audience for this. And that audience, and I want to say this respectfully, like younger people do seem to want to know. I know they're not, I don't want to I don't want to overgeneralize, but like they were very open to the conversation. Because the concern I had is like coming into it, like maybe it's touchy, but they dove right in. Like that age group, they want to know. And one of them came up to me after and was like, I think she said she either was on the verge of or wants to start a similar group in her area of concerned young people who want the truth to be known. And so, yeah, it's something to think about. While it's worth being concerned, the work we do, and there's definitely a contingent of older individuals who maybe don't want the truth. There is a group that what I notice is that young group, they want to talk about it. They know something's eerily wrong with the world that they find themselves in. And I think this helps give them the language to sort of capture that feeling. And they were very excited to be in that conversation, the one that we had. Did you get, Habiba, you were there. Am I overstating, you think?
No.
Yeah.
And the one the girl that he was talking about, remember that trip we went on and there was this one young girl that said that she was the only one that was interested in doing it. She just went ahead and she did it on her own, and I told her about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it was another just opportunity to open up this space. And I think the more LSP does that, the more people will benefit from it.
Anybody else questions, comments on it? Go ahead.
And I'm extremely inspired. I'm gonna be in Jacksonville, Florida, in 2024 with the Association for the Study of African American Life History. And of course, you know, we've got a governor and his people down in Florida that have banned a lot of things. And I was just thinking about the event that I'm going to be at on the 20th, that evening, in James Weldon's in that park with a group of students from Florida and other parts of the country talking about bandit books. It's called the Bandit Books Conference. And I know it's got to be interesting coming from the minds of the young people that's going to be talking about all that information that has been, they're attempting to deny them having a knowledge of. So it's good to hear this conversation going on. It gives me something to work with as I stand among these young people down there. That's next week? Next week? It's on the 20th. That evening, I think from 5:30 to 7, we'll be out in James Weldon Johnson Park.
That's right, because they filmed in Jacksonville. Yeah, that's where the song was created, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, the song was created, him and the brother created Jacksonville.
And they give it to me. Let's see, how much time? No, Collierville. I went to a lunch and learn sometime back. Just to kind of hear, you know, they were doing something around the South Side, oral history. And of course, Collierville has some lynchings. We know that, where it is, right? One of the person that's involved with the Collierville Community of Justice, which.
Emily Fuller.
Yeah, Emily Fuller. She's a University of Memphis professor, wherever it is, right? But anyway, so I went to the talk, and the head of noon, where it is, right? It's kind of hard for me to go out there, right? But I went out there, where it is, right? You know, to support her, but also to be present in terms of looking at the history. I mean, I knew there was some lynching up there, but to make a long story short, I met the director, her name's Kate Ranger, where it is, right? And she wanted us to come back out there and have a meeting. Me, Virginia, who's on the, you know, the quote project, or whatever it is, and Margaret met with her. And it was a good meeting. She talked about, we're gonna meet in November to kind of talk about a little bit further about about the meeting that we had, because she's looking at, she wants us to do a presentation during Black History Month in February. And so we're gonna be meeting again in November. And because Collierville had a vigil 2 years ago. I think Reverend Dr. Kevin Brooks was there, or it is, right? I don't know who did it, LSP, or whether that was the Collierville Community of Justice, whoever it is, right? And I know Rich, because Emily spoke to me about it. You did an interview.
I recorded her for the next
with Emily, or whoever it is, right? So that is something, you know, that's happening, whoever it is, they're really interested in the things that we're doing. Kate talked to me in Virginia. She's looking at taking the what blocks we do have for the quilt and actually displaying them at the actual museum itself. And so, so it's going to be quite interesting, you know, to about, you know, staying connected with people. You got anything you want to share? Okay. I didn't take up much time.
Dr. Paul Ortiz is going to be with us. You know, he's the guy who brings up students from the University of Florida up to Elaine, Arkansas. Paul Ortiz. In Jacksonville? Yeah.
Oh, ARTIZ, he wrote a book on Hispanics.
Yes. He's Hispanic.
And he also wrote a book called Emancipation Betrayed.
Yes.
About Florida Reconstruction.
Well, he's
superb scholar.
He's gonna be with us at that band book.
He does the oral history for the actual, he does oral history for the Saturday Wood Market Conference.
Right.
Wow.
When in November?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. We got, because I know, November. The early part of November. They have the Davis Mountain plantation. I have Paul up there, right, because
I'm still, maybe there's a lot of people in the committee. They had to use this implementation, book and private art show. They wanted to do a presentation last year. Some of us did a presentation on the 29th. I was one of them, and being the Jimmy did it's pretty hard. I was just walking my brother. The lady came, she wants us to do a presentation with L3 at the Davis Mountain Plantation. They have it every year in November. It's only Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but they had the solar there yet, because still need to meet with the committee to look at. We did speak April 9th, April 29th. I think it was there. Steve was there, Sam was there, John was there, thank God he was there to support me, we were talking about having some courageous conversations afterwards. I knew I was having eye surgery when it is right, and so I got back with Kate when it is right, and I talked with a little bit. So kind of healing right now, covering my eye, stuff like that. But I'm just thinking right now with the Davis Mountain Plantation coming up with another lot to have, like to maybe have us, do a presentation there where it is right, and then have some great conversation with the group, as part of the full thing. Because one of the person, the chairperson for the Shelby County Historical, Andy Thompson, I saw him last year, we talked a little bit, or it is right, you introduced him to him. Maybe that's right, or it is right, you introduced him to him, and they're doing the dedication for 9 years. So that's the work right now. With the Davis Mountain Plantation.
Hey, early in,
Oh, yeah, I gotta meet with the committee to kind of talk about it, who's doing stuff like that, I gotta get with you very soon.
Do you have a date? You have a date yet? Do you have a date? Okay.
That's what I'm concerned about, where we're gonna be.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be with,
I remember there was supposed to be some of the Davies matter earlier this year, but something happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
There was something at Davies Manor that got canceled.
No, that was the history day.
Oh, okay,
That
okay.
got changed, usually they have, every year, they have a history day on the 29th. We just have, Kate was really interested in what the work that they do. Or this right, she ended up trading 2 years ago, history but they only have an annual history day.
Okay, that's the thing.
That's supported by the Shelby County Historical Society. They wanted to have it in a different venue, so I don't know what happened.
Okay. And we would love to hear, DK, when you get back from Florida, we would love to hear about your experience.
I promise I will.
Okay, all right.
The title of the conference, Resistance.
Okay.
Resistance. That's the way we have named the book, right? Yes.
Because I'm interested in the local group. Because they have a local group here in Memphis. They usually meet on the third Sunday of each month at Lord Oaks. As a matter of fact, I remember Mary Oaks spoke in my name. I'm really interested in hearing about the feedback that comes from the conference, because I think about, the preparation theory and all stuff that's going on, and how that impacts what's going on right now. See, around teaching.
So y'all get your money together now.
We want you to come back and teach.
So we gotta get our money together to bail you out, is that what you're saying? Money to representation. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jasper and Brandy and Jessica and Habiba, those who took part in the educational activities we had this summer, the tours, as well as the talk to the youth. We got a lot of knowledge. It's absolutely right. And I think that is something we need to follow up on and do more of, being able to give tours to groups, whether it's young people, old people, corporations, whoever needs to be educated about this. Yeah, I have it on my list to raise during a board discussion as well. See what we can do about that.
We just put a note on the lynching sites, a website called Speakers Bureau or
Yeah.
something that self-advertises.
Yeah, well, we need to get together and talk about, one way to do that.
Theories.
So that is all I had on topic to share, and we have open floor discussion. I know at the beginning, we talked about 9/11. You talked, I don't know if you wanted to have thoughts on, reflection on this 9/11 day, or anyone does, or we can talk about something else. Anything that's on someone's mind?
I'd like to do a summation. It's been a really important meeting.
Sure.
I think I'm speaking personally, but I think the group is working toward a point of personal completion. We're getting old. And I had an epiphany last week, that if I was going to my grave, the last person in the world I want to have on my mind is this monster that I know lurks out there, who I come in contact with occasionally. And I buried him this month. And I think the group is at a point where we can finalize they're dead, that horrors have happened, but for each of us personally, we have to come to terms with the monsters that we've encountered and the monsters we're going to meet. And we have to be able to go to bed at night or die and look to God or look to the cross, or we have to come to peace. And I don't want that miserable old man to have it one up on me that he's still in my mind. I have fought for 64 years. And I buried him, and he's dead. And I don't know how we transfer that into the lynching sites, except to say, I offer that opportunity as in some way to the group, that whatever brings us here and we're comfortable and we have this knowledge and we're growing and we're putting up speakers bureaus, that somewhere we have to have God sort of stamp it and say, yes, well done, he's gone, he's dead, she's dead. And I offer that as resurrection. There has to be, this doesn't speak to everyone, but for people in the business of human rights, 64 years, and I'm ready to say there are new challenges, but those guys, they're dead, and they are experienced, and I've taken wisdom out of them, and I know that those monsters are not coming into this generation to lay their poison. I don't want my monsters to come through me and put their poison out there for children. And we have some, I don't understand, we have some kind of obligation to ourselves for saying this will not go from here. And it's a personal thing. It's a group decision. It could be done as a group, but it's going to happen individually, because I know we're all getting old and we're getting tired. I'm tired. Thank you.
Well, thank
To the newbies.
It's interesting that you would use the term monster. And we have to be highly intelligent and observant of the words that we use and the definition that we give to those words. I've met many monsters during my lifetime, and none have survived. Because it's not in the spirit of the world for the monster to live. The monster has to disappear. But you have to be strong enough to insist that the monster go away. So I guess what I'm saying is we have to really be understanding of the language that we use when we talk about those things that we come against or come against us. Monster doesn't have a chance.
Okay, that's good. I've lived in this guy's face for 64 years, and he's not there anymore.
It's ironic that you mentioned that I have a charge against me, given against me in 1970, right here on this campus. And guess what? It was charged of assault, murder in the first degree and malicious stabbing.
You're gone.
1970 on this campus. You know when I got my freedom from that monster? It was December the 13th, 2022. 53 years later. They kept it on the books against me. They knew they didn't have a charge against me, but couldn't do nothing with me because they were operating from a monster position. And that's untruth. That was a lie. So they couldn't do anything. So eventually they just had to drop all the charges. I could have sued Memphis State for millions of dollars. But that's my university. I love it. I got 2 degrees from it. But the monster couldn't live.
No. But we have to, there's some kind of healing here. Yeah. There's some kind of healing here that I'm suggesting that we've grown to.
Actually, would you like to say anything, whether it's in response or something else, Tom? The video's not on.
Okay. So I'm Tom Momberg, for those who may be listening who don't know me. I'm not sure about the word monster myself. And I will, because I am a word guy. And I love looking up words. And I am thankful for my high school Latin teacher at White Station High School for that. But maybe this is shifting gears a little bit, but I'm here tonight because I now know, because I wanted to be here, and because I now know that in the words of that ancient wisdom, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And you all are my teachers. And you have been my teachers. I'm grateful to have known, at least to some degree, everybody in this room in recent times. So when I left serving on the board of the Lynching Sites Project, what I heard loud and clear, and maybe this is another way of talking about and thinking about the monster within. And I'm saying that as a white man. What I heard very loud and clear from several people was, Tom, what we really need you to do as an ordained white man is to get the word out about not just the Lynching Sites Project, but about racial healing and justice in white churches with white clergy. And I've been working on that for the last couple of years. So I'm ordained in a white church. It's called the Episcopal Church. And for the last 8 years, we've had our first African-American presiding bishop, Michael Curry, whom many of you know because he preached at the royal wedding all those years ago. He's the royal wedding presiding bishop, I sometimes call him. And Michael Curry has, along with many others, helped my particular church, the Episcopal Church, really begin to do the kind of work that I've been hearing about tonight that's going on here in Memphis and other places, which is to face our own demons, our own monsters, about how we've been complicit. Randy's been bugging me here for the last couple of minutes talk about sacred ground, talk about sacred ground. And that is what I want to say something about, and then pass the mic. So one of the things that's happened in the last 8 years with our presiding bishop presiding has been a really serious effort to do racial healing and justice work within our church. And so a thing called Sacred Ground was launched 4 years ago, almost 5. Actually it was launched 3 years ago, closer to 4, just before COVID. It was supposed to be an in-person small group experience. It became an online small group experience. And now over 2,500 small groups across the country and other parts of the world have been created. And Sacred Ground is a curriculum that was created by a white woman whose ancestors were one of the largest slave trading families in the United States, the DeWolf family, out of Rhode Island. So longer story made shorter, I participated in the Sacred Ground group and was so taken by the experience that I wanted to continue the work. It has now morphed and changed from a group that was an Episcopal church group. The way they talked about it was, this is a white person's group for a white church to do this work. To the next step was, well, any faith community that liked to sponsor or host it can do it. And the latest development is, it doesn't even have to be a faith community. It could be the Civil Rights Museum that hosts a Sacred Ground group. Where this all led me a little over a year ago was to plant a Sacred Ground group at Idlewild Presbyterian Church because of Gail Walker and Mary McIntosh, who were both still active in some way at that church. And so this Episcopal clergyman partnered with a non-denominational clergy woman to do a Sacred Ground group at a Presbyterian church. It was extremely well received. And I'm here tonight to say that I am looking at forming a new group. And if someone who is listening or is here tonight would like to know more, I'll be here long enough to talk to anybody who would like to. Last thing I want to say is, Randy Gamble came to an information meeting last week about Sacred Ground. And if you want to hear a little bit more about his own experience of just what the information was about, you can certainly talk to him. But I am back here tonight because Lynching Sites Project has been and continues to be one of my spiritual communities. And I said this to LSP folks when we first assembled, when I became the board president. And that is, this is not a religious community. And even though I am both spiritual and religious, this is not a religious community, but it is a spiritual community for all those who might be listening in and have not connected yet. or looking for a way, I would invite you to join us. I'm back in a more regular way, and I couldn't be more grateful to you all and for the time you've given me. And I'm going to pass it to Randy, because I would like to hear what you have to say about your experience Thursday night when we had the information meeting.
I'm gonna keep it brief. That is, what I received made me, ponder some things. I had shared about, I need to know the beginning, about who was at the table. And to me, I had mentioned that when you showed the video, you know, of Mr. Robinson, because he spoke in LSP or whatever it is, right? That video, going back from slavery to the present, to me, covered everything about the syllabus that they had for the 11 weeks. To me, there was so much information each week or whatever it is, right? I couldn't get past that video. And that's what I shared. Because I'm a heavy thinker. And to me, there has to be space to breathe. That's 11 weeks is 11 months, so to speak, right? Once a month, right? 11 sessions, whatever it is. That's a lot of reading. And it took me back when I first met you to Rose College. You remember we had the race and violence, Dr. Anthony Syracuse, and we had all that information we had to read every week. Well, to me, when I read a book, I might not get past the first chapter. And so to me, there was so much information, to have, or whatever it is, right? And I had mentioned to you and to the group, or whatever it is, that, the people who were there, that I think is important, and it kind of goes back to what you shared with me earlier, or whatever it is, right? About when you have somebody new that come into something, right? I think it's important to walk with that person. It's because I'm in my head, or whatever it is, right? And when I think about any new endeavor, or whatever it is, right? I'm gonna have some questions, and I'm gonna have some doubts. So I need to be able to have somebody walk with me. Just like when somebody new come here, I walk with them. Or it is. I don't want people to show up, right? And that's it, right? But to show with, to walk with them. And I think that's important, is to have somebody walk, because this is not something that's easy. I can read all I want, books and everything, and articles and everything, but if I'm not in relationship to somebody else to have courageous conversation, I'm just in my head and in my heart. But I need to be able to have some dialogue, some courageous conversation, and tell you exactly what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. But if we're not walking together, right, then what are we doing? How are we going to build a beloved community if we're not really engaging with each other to be truthful about what's going on? And that's the short version.
I've heard that on a song. Walk with me. Talk with me.
Steve, can I say anything before we leave?
As others have said, I'm also very grateful to be here. Thoughts about monsters. Human beings can do monstrous things. If human beings were monsters, a monster doesn't betray its nature when it does monstrous things. When I do something monstrous, I betray my humanity. It doesn't take away my humanity. I think that's the tragedy. I feel compelled to look in the eye whatever it is that is my monster, the monster within, the monster without. And I like the thought that was expressed that the monster, the spirit of the world does not suffer the monster to live, because the basis of the monster is untruth. And truth is that which is the case. So, you know, the lie, forever how long it lasts, is not the case. So if the monstrosity is based in a lie, then I agree with I find a hope expressed in that. I just want to live long enough to see the promise. Thanks.
Shannon?
I just wonder why you didn't sue.
The Latin says a type of fictional creature found in horror, fantasy, science fiction, folklore, mythology, and religion.
A monster.
That's the Latin definition of monster.
Okay.
Did you hear her question?
Why you didn't sue?
Say it again.
Why you didn't sue?
I hear it.
That's why you didn't sue.
The university. The university. Well, I should have. At the time that they arrested me, I was the one establishing the first Black Student Association on campus here. And I was part of less than 100 African Americans who were here. And they arrested me because I was on the scene of a fight. And the arrest really wasn't about me, it was about the two guys who were fighting, a football player and a basketball player. But I was on the scene. And I was the leader of the few Black students who were coming to campus, 1966, 67, 68. And I had to make a decision as to whether I wanted to challenge the university that was allowing us to come and partake in the educational process more than just me. Or if I wanted to challenge them monetarily and legally. And I said, the best thing for me to do is to take this charge and wear it as a badge of honor.
So what's
And-
your education? What's in your education a given right or no?
Very well educated in human rights, but at the same time, we had the opportunity for thousands of students to come and get a good quality education over here. If you check the numbers right now, when I first started, there were less than 100 of us. Now, 43% of the total student population is African American at this university here. So that meant that the fact that I did not get involved legally allowed them to grow as a student body. And I felt good about that. And I was fortunate enough to have a real good job.
You want to your street.
Yeah. Thanks. My eldest daughter, who's 6 now, whom I think all of you have met, or she has made her presence known several times. She asked me what monsters look like. And I told her they look like people. And she didn't understand that, you know, she was probably 5 at the time, but she said, don't they have green skin or fangs? I said, no, they look just like people. Baby, I know she doesn't fully understand it now, but hopefully, you know, if she lives long enough, she'll understand. I wanted to know that people are capable of horrible things, despite what they look like, whether they're white, black, short, tall, whatever. And she has to be prepared to be able to see that And people, and not think that, oh, surely this person cannot, no. Nope. They can do it. It's happened in the past. Unfortunately, it can happen in the future.
You know, one last thing, excuse me, I had some friends over there too. The first president of Shelby State was Jess Parrish. But he and his secretary, Ms. Bird, were friends of mine. And whenever some things were happening on campus over there, they called me, I'd go to their office, and they shared that with me. A lot of things that were going on. So I had some people that were looking after my well-being. Even Dr. Humphreys, one day after he retired, he saw me and David Ace, he said, "You two young men, come here." He said, I didn't understand what y'all were doing back then. But now I understand better, and I'm proud of you. He wrote about us in his book, his first book. Yes, this is Dr. Humphreys. But had a great experience over there.
And believe that you listen to them.
What's the name of the book?
Name of his book?
Humphrey's book.
I'd have to look it up. Dr. Humphreys. Yes.
Okay. All right, we are going to close it out. Everyone here, thank you. All of those who are online, I think we've answered all. Oh, there's another Q&A. Let's see. Oh, thanks. All right. All right. I know he wanted a link to Zocalo, and we gave it to him. So yeah, we'll put the chairs back when we're done. We'll definitely take care of that. Thanks for everyone who showed up online. Jill Scott from across the pond, always good to see your name pop up. Thanks, John, for joining in. Barbara, good to see you as well. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and we will see you next month.
Yes.
All right.